didn't really understand what feminism was, just basically what I've heard from my friends when I was in high school, that it's just, if you're a feminist, it means that you want women to be on top and the leaders and just in charge of everything and power hungry.
To me, if you feel that women should be treated equally, should have equal access to the same things that men have access to, should be paid the same for the same work, you're a feminist.
Feminism is important to me because I'm a woman. And so it's important that I get equal pay for doing the same amount of work. It's important that I get treated with the same amount of respect just because I'm a woman. And it's important that if I want to do something with my life, I feel like I can, and that I'm not being held back just because of what sex I was born.
The earliest trace of the word feminism can be found in 1895. The revolution was brought about by women that were facing inequalities and lacked the power to incite changes in the patriarchal society they lived in. Now feminism still exists, but as a quickly spreading movement that continually gains popularity because there are still obstacles that modern women desire to address and alter. One such issue is the definition of feminism.
I think that feminism is a complicated word because it has so many connotations that have been both positive and negative. I think I have a lot of students now that wouldn't, if I asked them, are you a feminist? A lot of students would say no, even though I think when asked about their ideology, about should women have equal rights, should women be paid the same as men for the same job, that they would agree with that.
Part of the problem with defining feminism is that children are not taught from an early age what it means to be and live like a feminist, so as they grow older, their ideas about feminism become skewed.
No. Why people are different than each other?
Something that has to do with guys and girls. Like, how they're treated differently.
The dictionary definition of feminism is the theory of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes, or organized activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. A common misconception that is used as a prime argument against feminism is that men also face double standards. So it is said that feminism is creating another double standard. However, true feminists wish to bring equality to all genders.
The statistics show that it's majority of women are harassed, especially those with power.
It has nothing to do with loving men or hating men, or it has to do with an institutionalized sexism that doesn't give women the same opportunities that it gives men.
Women are no less than men, and they should not be treated anything less. There should be no such thing as a double standard. I don't think feminism is just about women being equal, but about men being equal too.
I just want to help others understand it, and it's just important because I want to tell people that I do have the same opportunity, and I do want to strive to make others realize that we're all the same.
Women are 51% of the population, and yet we are still oppressed, or we are still seen as less than.
There's a blatant obvious example of catcalling. You can be walking around in downtown Denver or on Pearl Street or whatever, and you can be wearing like a shirt and like a t-shirt and jeans, and a guy can call you whatever name he wants to, but you can't do that to guys, and guys can't do that to each other. And so I think it's one of those blatant examples of a man feeling superior to a woman and wanting to degrade her.
My brother, he treats me like I'm a wimp because I'm a girl, and when I show him up, it's kind of funny just because I get to prove him wrong.
I think that a huge one, especially in the area of like social media and especially in college, is that women can be promiscuous and are seen as, like a slut, and guys can be promiscuous and be seen as super manly and super macho, and that is completely unfair. And on the flip side, women can be physically abusive to men, and a lot of times it's not considered domestic violence. And whereas if a man is abusive to a woman, it is. And I think that that's not fair either.
I've been teaching for 20 years, and sometimes I feel like if I say something, they feel like, oh, well, I need to go look that up. Whereas if a male professor says the exact same thing, they're like, well, my professor told me that was true. So I feel that that is something that I've been up against.
Some guys could do sports that girls can't, and like football, like they know that they have powder puff or whatever, but like some teams only allow guys. Like if they combined them, then like it would be equal, more equal, I guess.
Double standards can go both ways, and it's just unfortunate that we live in a world full of them.
Just because you're different gender doesn't mean that you should be treated different, and just because you're a girl doesn't mean that you're not as strong as guys. Because I know a lot of girls who are a lot stronger than guys.
Boys shouldn't call girls different names because all of them are kind of the same.
I'm going into the medical field, which is a place where I know a lot of sexism does take place, and a lot of it I don't think is on purpose. It's just something that happens. A lot of people don't see women as doctors. Like, you think doctor and you think a man, and you think nurse and you think a woman, and I think that that's an issue that needs to be addressed.
When I waited tables, I was treated differently because I was a woman, and the sexism that I encountered was both from my employer as well as the patrons.
I work in a dining unit, and so I'm one of the student managers, and recently I found out that I was being paid less than a male student manager of the same qualifications that has been there a year less than I have. And we think that we figured out what happened, but it does raise an issue, as I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
He said, "How are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm a neuroscience student at CU Boulder, and I'm a sophomore now, And he said, "Oh, really? Neuroscience? You?" I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Well, you're blonde, you're a woman. Can you do that? Can you take neuroscience?" It was like, as if women can't take neuroscience.
So then people don't get bullied?
51% of all people, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what race, no matter what class, are women. And the fact that there's still inequity is something that everybody should care about.
There are all sorts of documentaries and information resources where you can find statistics on problems that affect women negatively in society. They'll show you things like the pitiful number of women that hold top corporate and political positions, and the outrageous numbers of women that are raped, harassed, and molested, as well as countless other inequalities that women face. But I don't think people need to be shown statistics to prove that gender inequality and sexism exists. They know that it does. I want to show you how to fix it. In order to remain standing, every house needs a foundation. In order for equality to take effect in the older generations, they must teach their children the ideals of feminism so that they can raise future generations who know nothing other than equality.
I feel as a teacher where I teach issues surrounding gender, sexuality, racism, classism, that there are so many students, so many more students who are earnest and want to know and want to understand what sexism looks like or what racism looks like, because they've grown up sheltered or they don't have any experience in the adult world of dealing with this.
It's just really important that people have more awareness and education about it, because we are human and we are all not the same, but we are all together and as one, and we should work more together and try to understand each other more.
In terms of role modeling, both my husband and I work full-time, and we've split all of these kinds of chores and things that just have to get done. And my husband does all the grocery shopping and all the cooking. I do the dishes. I do all the stuff that has to do with cars. I do all the stuff that has to do with the lawn. So even just in the way we're living our lives, we defy those gender stereotypes. But then at the same time, we still have things that fit the gender stereotypes. I think what's important is that the couple looks at it similarly, so that then that message doesn't get completely mixed.
I think having an understanding and more knowledge about that area by just having honestly, more feminist classes, maybe more people understanding gender society.
For me, as just an example, is through watching movies with my kids. And I always bring out, from a feminist perspective, this is how the movie, these are things that you'd think about when you're looking at this movie.
Everything changes so quickly that they need to be in on our conversation just like we need to be in on theirs. And so that way we can all work together to address this huge issue and work together to fix it.
Let girls and guys play in the same sports and play on the same team. If they combined them, then it would be equal, more equal, I guess.
Making boys smaller.
That they have to be able to just keep an open heart and open mind and accept, what they learn.
Young women and young men should know that no matter what you want to do, you can.
To not be afraid to face their fears and get over themselves.
One of the biggest obstacles to overcome regarding teaching children about feminism is Disney and their princesses.
That they're pretty.
I think Disney has done a huge disservice to women.
Disney princesses set an unrealistic standard for girls about the way that they should look.
Disney just oversimplifies gender roles so much and relies on the gender roles of the 1950s or 40s even.
With Ariel, when Ursula sings that song about her body language and how that's just, just flaunt what you're been given and don't say anything because men don't want to hear about that.
And don't underestimate the importance of body language. Ha! The men up there don't like a lot of blabber. They think a girl who gossips is a bore. Yet on land it's much preferred for ladies not to say a word. And after all, dear, what is idle prattle for?
If you really look at those movies from a feminist perspective, they're problematic in every single way. I mean, I always think of Little Mermaid, that in order to have a man fall in love with her, she has to lose her voice. So she's silenced, and that's how he falls in love with her. And that she's willing to become human, but he's not willing to become a fish or whatever. So it's always the women who are sacrificing themselves and changing themselves in order to fit, the male ideal.
They were all damsels in distress. They all needed to be saved by someone else. And instead, girls need to know that you don't need someone else to be happy. It's you can be happy on your own instead of waiting for someone to come save you, instead of waiting for your prince to come love you.
If they just made a couple movies where it shows not everything always turns out the way that you plan it to be.
In Disney, it's always that the woman wants to get married or get the guy, or that the happily ever after is a given, and there's no discussion of, well, once you are married, how does that work? It only offers any type of moral or message of how to get to the wedding day, but there's nothing to exemplify or to teach girls how to actually be in a relationship.
But this is the message that is given to students and to children and to families. Well, in terms of image, no, I don't think so, because even with the new movie Frozen, there's still ridiculous figures.
I think Frozen made a huge jump into that by saying that it's not just about romantic love, but it's also about the love of your family, the love of your friends, the love of everyone else around you. And that's why it's such a huge movement right now, and why Frozen was so incredibly successful. It's one of my favorites.
In other princess movies, they find their true love, and then this one, it's showing how the sisters, I guess, regained their love, maybe.
Anna was quirky and she was weird, and that's why people loved her. And then I think that we need to start getting away from the Barbie doll proportions, and the themes are getting closer to where they need to be, but I don't think that the application is quite there yet.
It's great that they can look up to these, beautiful women that are in power, and that's another thing is with this new Frozen movie, they actually go through a coronation with a woman taking the throne, and I think that's great. Same with like Merida in Brave. It was more about teaching her to become a queen and in being a leader.
Disney princesses need to start becoming more of role models and less of the traditional damsel in distress.
I think that they are making some headway, but they still have a little ways to go.
To not lose their slippers. Tangled, because she has long hair and she faces her fears and is always happy.
Mulan, she's my favorite.
Elsa. Because she learns how to control her powers and finally overcomes her fear.
Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame, because she can dance, and that's what I love to do. So I think that's the one woman I could really I really respect. She has nothing, and she's treated as nothing, and she still gets by, and she knows she's really quick and witty, and she figures it out. And even when the time gets rough, she just rolls with it and meets new friends that can help her.
What we need are role models that show us how to live in the real world, where we can still do the dishes, we can still stay home with our kids, and we can still be feminists, but we can still have a voice in the public.
My mother, I know it's generic, but she truly is my hero, because she also had a struggle with people telling her that she wasn't smart enough to go to law school. And she did it, and she went to law school. She was the bottom of her class, but she did it. She got through it, and she was so excited, and she's now a superintendent of a school district, and she's doing what she loves. It was her efforts that got her to where she is today, and she just doesn't stop. And I just, she's such a good role model for me, and I hope to be anything like her someday.
My cousin, because she's gone a lot further in life than I've really known anybody else. She's gone to college and she's gotten a degree and she seems happy. And my mom's my role model because through all the obstacles in life, she's overcome them all. And she always finds a way to help her family in any situation.
My grandma, because she's a lawyer, so she went back to school in her 30s and her 40s to become a lawyer. And I thought that was a huge deal, because so many people don't see women as being successful lawyers. And now she's retired and they have this huge house, and she's just a wonderful person, and I really appreciate that she really wants me to do whatever I can.
My mom and my cousin, because there's a lot of hard things to get over, and they get over them really fast.
Everyone needs a role model. They show you that if someone made it before you, then you can make it too. The most important thing feminists can do for the younger generation is to act like good role models.
Don't let anyone ever tell you who you need to be and that you can't do something, because you can do anything you want to do.
I want her to know that she could do anything. I want her to know that she can be a nurse if she wants, she can be a doctor, she can be an engineer, she can do anything that she wants, and she shouldn't be held back by anyone and what anyone says.
They're confident, and some girls could be muscle strong, like gymnasts and cheerleaders, and others can be emotionally strong, and they could handle a lot more.
They can be strong and face their fears.
They can help each other through things, and they can compliment each other.
Not everyone is the same. However, they should all be treated the same. Feminism is not just a women's issue, it is a human rights issue.
I think most people should call themselves feminists.
We do all have second chances, and, more than that, like we can recover from our mistakes. At one point, everyone is racist or sexist, but we can all step above that.
It doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter the way that you were born, everyone should be treated the exact same.
I think everybody should be treated equally, because just because you're different gender doesn't mean that you should be treated different, like we're all human beings.
Progress for feminism in today's world is unmistakable, but the older generations need to work together to instill the ideals and desires of gender equality in the youngest generation. To construct the beliefs and values of today's children with the desire for equality and respect for people of all genders is to build a solid foundation for a world where all are treated equally in the future.
I think that if we just start the conversation about making things more equal, and we start the conversation about that everyone is equal, then as the younger generations grow up into that conversation, they begin to take that in, and they begin to believe it.
I want to be somebody that helps other people, like a doctor.